It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Thursday, December 5th. I'm Wendy Corr, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily newsroom, brought to you by the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. From 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, Cowboy State Daily's Jake Nichols takes you deeper into the stories that matter and keeps up with the news, weather, and sports in your part of Wyoming. Just tune in to cowboystatedaily.com and join the conversation.
I got bucked off down in Prescott, and I've been driving half the night.
Well, if you ask his son, Wyoming's late troubadour Chris LeDoux has one more song to sing. LeDoux was a world champion bareback rider and renowned country singer who hailed from KC. LeDoux was 56 when he died of cancer in 2005. LeDoux's son Ned, whose voice bears an uncanny resemblance to his father's, unveiled a track on Wednesday that his dad recorded shortly before his death. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that the song, titled One Hand in the Riggin', features the voices of both Ned and his father.
Often, even in the literary world, if things are released after a person's death, it's because they weren't the best things. But this song is actually good. It has the catchy twang of that late 80s, early 90s era of rodeo cowboy country. It's got that same dogged spirit, like I'm just going to get to Cheyenne. I'm just going to get through one more rodeo. You can hear the voices of father and son, an electric guitar solo, and just a whole lot of country.
One hand in the ring.
The song tells a story of a rodeo cowboy who got bucked off at a show, didn't make the short go, and had to drive half the night just to make it to Cheyenne. The Bureau of Land Management's controversial resource management plan is a legal document that charts the future management of 3.6 million acres of BLM land in the Rock Springs region. The plan outlines what areas can and cannot be used for mining, recreation, and travel. The plan, which is close to becoming final, has been met with serious opposition in and around Wyoming since first being developed. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that while changes and compromises were made from its original version, Governor Mark Gordon and other Wyoming officials and residents continue to express serious opposition to the document that would curtail mining and increase conservation on federal lands in the southwest corner of the state.
Gordon still is opposed to the RMP plan. He believes it does not strike a balance when it comes to mining interests related to conservation interests, and he just feels like it is not where it needs to be as far as representing Wyoming stakeholders' interests. He will be submitting an appeal to the BLM on this plan.
It will be BLM Director Tracy Stone Manning's call to decide if more modifications are made to the plan based on the governor's recommendations or to keep it as is. A $37 million wildlife crossing project in southwest Wyoming is on track to start construction next year, a project that's considered essential to protect drivers and 2 mule deer herds that were devastated by a harsh winter 2 years ago. The Kemmerer Wildlife Crossing on U.S. Highway 189 is expected to benefit prized Wyoming range mule deer, the Uinta mule deer herd, and the Carter-Lease pronghorn herd, according to Cowboy State Daily's Justin George.
It'll take a couple of years to build. They're expecting all these underpasses and fences, sort of a higher fence to keep the wildlife off the highway, to be ready by at least November 2028. This is a zone that protects 2 very critical mule deer herd for the state. It was very important for them to sort of have a place where they can go underneath the highway because it has been a place where there have been so many collisions between deer and cars.
The project on U.S. Highway 189 is being funded with a $24.3 million federal wildlife crossing pilot program discretionary grant and will take about 2 years to build. The U.S. Supreme Court is considering a monumental case surrounding whether state bans on sex-change treatments for kids are inherently sexist. The case itself, LW versus Skermetti, focuses on a Tennessee law that bans kids from accessing puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for the purpose of transitioning to a different gender. This is similar to Wyoming's law on child sex change treatments. The nation's high court heard oral argument in the case case Wednesday, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
This is a huge case. The ACLU and the federal government both arguing on behalf of transgender children, saying, hey, if you restrict access to puberty blockers for boys and girls trying to change sex but not suffering precocious puberty, you're making a sex-based distinction that makes this law harder to defend in court. So Tennessee says, oh no, we're looking at the actual medical impact. We're not trying to draw a sex-based distinction.
President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to urge Congress for a ban on all child sex change surgeries. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Well, is this nice weather going to continue? Well, the answer is yes, for a little bit longer. Temperatures will be a touch cooler today in the eastern and northern parts of Wyoming, but we're still under high pressure, very strong high pressure here for a bit longer through Saturday. As early as Saturday night, though, we'll see snow showers developing in Yellowstone Park, the northwest corner of the state, and the higher terrain. And then during the day Sunday, you folks in northern Wyoming are going to feel it first. Much colder temperatures in developing areas of light snow with some snow in the high country, and that will spread south Sunday afternoon, Sunday night into Monday into the rest of the state. And that's going to put us back on a more December-like weather pattern. But up until then, this nice weather will hang on for a little longer.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
Open enrollment is here. Discover a range of low-cost plans from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. Shop now to find the best option for you. Online, in town, in touch. We're right around the corner. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Wyoming. What's your plan?
The Joint Minerals Committee has expressed interest in a bill that would give public utilities liability protection from fire-related lawsuits if they create wildfire mitigation plans. But Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that the committee didn't believe the bill was ready for consideration in the upcoming legislative session.
What this would have done is it basically would have kind of changed the laws so that as long as the public utility company submitted a wildfire mitigation plan, they would have received significant liability protection from the state as far as people trying to recoup losses as a result of wildfires. But this bill will not be seen in the 2025 legislative session and will be discussed probably at some point in the future.
All of the utility companies that spoke before the committee supported the bill, with many describing it as a compromise struck between companies and their customers. A Gillette Police Department officer was arrested and jailed Monday by his own department, wanted on suspicion of having sex with a woman who was on probation in Utah, where he was also a police officer. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that the Gillette Police Department hired Christopher Goree in September, and he was still in his training phase when Utah authorities sent the department a warrant for his arrest.
I went and got the court documents out of Utah, and these talk about a woman who is on felony probation divulging to her probation agent that she was in a relationship with this guy. And that's a felony in Utah for a cop to be intimate with someone who's on probation. It's one of those position of authority type things that's considered a sex crime.
Goree faces 3 counts of felony custodial relations, each carrying a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison and $5,000 in fines, a 4th felony of tampering with a witness, and a misdemeanor count of accessing sealed records. Well, former Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney became hated by many Republicans for her opposition of Donald Trump. And now a new poll shows that she might have hurt Vice President Kamala Harris in her run against Trump this year. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that poll, which surveyed voters in Pennsylvania and Michigan, found that more independent voters said they were less enthusiastic to vote for Harris after she campaigned alongside Cheney.
This is significant because this was a demographic that Harris specifically needed to target if she had any hopes of winning the presidential election. It appears that there was a lot of skepticism about her teaming up with Cheney, who has always been a staunch Republican and caught many people by surprise that she was supporting Harris's campaign.
A vast majority of independent participants from both states said Cheney's participation had no impact on their votes, and the poll indicated that it would have been more useful for Harris to have spent her time focusing on economic issues. And Sheriff Walt Longmire and his adventures in fictional Absaroka County, Wyoming, has been a blockbuster hit for Netflix, even though no new episodes of Longmire have dropped since the series finale in 2017. But Netflix is finally turning the popular show loose as of the end of this month, and it's already available on Paramount Plus for the continued viewing pleasure of fans, as well as a new streaming platform audience. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that the author of the Longmire books, UCross resident Craig Johnson, is now musing that perhaps the wildly popular show could be revived.
It's not like Craig has stopped writing. He's added plenty of new material out there. And so if at some point one of these networks gets the idea of, hey, we should make another Longmire series, or hey, we should make another movie, well, there's plenty of material to draw from. And that's what fans, I think, were really responding to.
Longmire started out on the A&E network and immediately rocketed to the top of viewership ratings with 6 million viewers per episode. Despite that popularity, A&E canceled the show in 2014 when Warner Brothers refused to sell the brand. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to drop in on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake Nichols, Monday through Friday from 6 to 10 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.